Today we're going to learn how to paint Space Wolf Armour using Ragnar Blackmane.
That the entirety of the cosmos is accessible to each and every individual's mind, connecting to the great mind, the great spirit.
Welcome back to the channel, collectors. Today we'll be learning how to paint Space Wolf Armour using Ragnar Blackmane. This video tutorial is part of a series of video tutorials where I'll take you all through component by component how to paint Ragnar Blackmane. The technique I'm going to be using for Ragnar Blackmane is going to be a heavily stippling technique. So it's going to be a bit new and a bit different from how I usually paint. This technique was chosen because it's very fast and very efficient. It uses a stencil brush so that we can create rough and interesting textures on the model. So if you're ready to learn, let us begin. Alright, so as you guys can see, Ragnar Blackmane has been primed in brown. This brown is KRYLON camo brown. I find that it gives a very nice and smooth finish. The first color I'll be using to stipple is Vallejo model color Fuel Blue. This Fuel Blue that I'm using is sort of like a mid-tone, and at this stage you want to make sure that the Fuel Blue is sufficiently thinned down for this stippling process. This is going to be used as sort of like a base coat, so you want to make sure that the surface is as smooth as possible. At this stage, what you should be focused on is the geometric shapes. So say for example, I'm breaking up the upper thigh and of the leading leg as a cylinder, and I'm stippling it as a cylinder. You shouldn't be too focused on the little details, as the areas which the stencil brush cannot reach will inherently become shadows. Okay, so I'm currently doing the back leg and the rest of the armor in Vallejo model Fuel Blue. Okay, just to take note, using this technique with every step, what you want to do is make sure that the model is dry before applying the next layer. This will help allowing the surface to be as smooth as possible. Okay, right now I'm mixing a new color. I'm going to be adding in a little bit of sea green, Vallejo model sea green in the stipple process. So this will be also a highlight. This is a mix of Vallejo model sea green with Fuel Blue. At this stage, you want to make sure that the colors are well melded, and you don't want to over create the highlight area. You want to make sure that the highlight area still has a little bit of the Fuel Blue showing. Now I'm using a smaller brush. This is a smaller stencil brush, and I'm stenciling in the main highlights. Alright, so gradually you want to be mixing in more and more sea green into the mix so that you can get the values correct. If you want to understand more about values, you can check out the video which is linked in the description below. So as you guys can see, I'm currently also using a semi-moist version of this sea green mixed with Fuel Blue. What this does is it gives a smooth surface and it ensures that the coverage is as good as possible. It doesn't give that chalky finish as dry brush normally would. One added advantage is the areas where the brush can't reach, you are getting edge highlights and you're getting an automatic paint wash which is really quick. Alright, so with the sea green done, I'm going to be mixing in sea green with LAHMIAN medium, and I'm going to fill up the areas which have been missed out during the stippling process. As this stippling process is a very random process, we want to make sure that this is the part where we start controlling the shape of the highlights. Okay, And also, because stippling is inherently random, there are some gaps in between the stipple process. So this also helps to fill in the gaps to make sure the surface looks as smooth as possible. As you guys can see, I'm re-emphasizing some of the edges using edge highlighting. This allows the viewer to understand where the light source is coming from and to re-emphasize the form and shape of the individual armor panels. This stage is really important because you want to make sure that the light is coherent and linked to one another. Alright. So right here, I'm re-emphasizing the highest highlights with almost pure white. I'm using KIMERA white mixed in with a little bit of sea green, and I'm creating extreme edge highlights to make sure the individual armor panels are well defined. Don't worry if you are a little bit messy in this stage. You can always use a glaze of sea blue or a glaze of fuel blue to tone back the shapes if you have made any mistakes. What's important is you're not afraid of making mistakes and you give this method a try. One thing I find useful about this method is that it's really quick and that you can achieve effects really quickly. However, one important thing that I must re-emphasize is that you should follow through with this method throughout. There are times in between where the method will look really ugly, but you just gotta believe it. So right now I'm currently using fuel blue mixed in with a bit of KIMERA red oxide. So this will be used as the contrasting secondary light which I'll be positioning from the bottom left of this mini diorama. Using the same stipple technique, I'm currently placing in the secondary light source, which is probably some flames coming from the bottom left of the corner. So at this stage you want to make sure that the brush is slightly moist but not too moist, and you want to be stippling to create a warmer tone from the bottom. So you want to make sure that all planes are well covered, including the trailing leg at the back. Right now I'm using a little bit of Vallejo model color orange brown to re-emphasize these secondary highlights. I use Vallejo orange brown because orange brown is slightly of a higher value and is slightly warmer in nature to the previous mix. So this I find creates some contrast. I also place some random edge highlights along edges which didn't get the stipple treatment, so that it shows that areas also get influence even if they don't they are not in the immediate vicinity of the secondary light. Alright, so this is the final product. I hope you find this useful. So what do you think about this tutorial? Let me know in the comments below, alright? So in the next video, we'll be covering the yellow sword of Ragnar Blackmane. Are you excited? What other techniques would you like me to cover on Ragnar Blackmane? Just let me know in the comments below and I'll try my very best to showcase any of the questions in the future videos. So if you want to support the channel further, do head on to our Patreon and become a patron today. Patrons get early access to many of my videos and also exclusive video. The exclusive video for this series would be how I painted Ragnar Blackmane's face. And when I'm talking about how I paint the face, I really go in depth to how I approach painting faces as a topic. However, if you can't become a patron, that's okay too. I really appreciate it if you like, subscribe and comment on this current video because it really helps us as a channel and it really helps us grow. So that's it. I hope to see you in the next video and thanks for watching. See you.